So, first of all, I'm interested in knowing that what inspired you to make this film. Can you talk about you kind of what made you write it? What made you decide that this was the film that you wanted to write?
When I met Nambi sir, I was only looking at a story which was about the spy, who was accused of selling the secrets of ISRO to Pakistan, who had an affair with a Maldivian woman, and it looked like a small James Bond film that I can make, and it'll be a good fun to do. And the fact that he was innocent was actually like a cliffhanger for me. But when I met him, it was completely like somebody had hit me on the head with a sledgehammer. Because I knew that I was missing a larger picture. I was looking at this man, I was looking at his demeanor, I was looking at the way he was speaking. And he wasn't just an ordinary scientist. He was not just, but I couldn't put my finger on what it was. It was only later when he started talking about all his achievements in life and, apart from the case that it hit me, and what I was missing just stood up and loomed up in front of me like a giant. And I realized the folly of having to make a film on his case.
So there's so many layers to it, and it's an ongoing case, and the person is still waiting for justice in a sense. So did it overwhelm you in any way, or was it something like did you want to pick up something that was challenging enough?
I don't think there was any rationale involved. Once I heard the story, I tried to sleep over it and see if I had to do it or make sure that this is the right project for me. All that did not feature in my thoughts at all. I was not able to get the fact that he made the Vikas engine, the fact that he was such a celebrated scientist, but nobody wanted to talk about it. Everybody just knew him as the spy, and the algorithm on Google was just picking up his spy case in association with ISRO and the Maldivian women, and it wasn't picking up on the Vikas engine and all the other meritorious things that he had done. The story was already written. It was all there. I just had to choose which part of the story I wanted to tell with respect to the message that I wanted to send across. And on that front, I think we succeeded because we just wanted to show the world what a genius and what a patriot Nambi sir and the likes of him were.
Right. And, coming to you directing it, you first decided to write it. And, one of your earlier interviews says that, there was just nobody to direct it, in your opinion. So, this is your directorial debut as well. So what was that like? In the sense that, to be your own director, I would like to know a little bit about what that process was like.
The toughest part was to direct myself. I knew what I wanted others to do, but I wasn't sure I was getting what I wanted to do on the frame. I know I could have given it to somebody else to direct, but I just didn't find anybody who understood cryogenic engines or rocket scientists or the way ISRO works,
depending on the research that I've done. Came handy?
No, my entire life seems to have been prepared me for this moment, if truth be told, because everything from NCC to defense to understanding my interest in aeronautics, my interest in space and everything just culminated in this particular project. And although technically maybe a director would have done way more justice than I have. And so I didn't find anybody who would understand all the research that I have done and be able to do it in 3 languages. You must understand, we were shooting it in English, Hindi and Tamil. With the director in English or in Hindi, I had to compromise on one language. I know all these languages. I was convinced by Nambi sir as well as the investors that would be the best thing to do, and so I jumped in.
And as an actor, who's directing himself, what sort of a director were you to yourself? In the sense that were you extra critical, or how many times did you, watch yourself in the camera? Like you said that you knew what your other actors, were expected to do, but what was that like? Was there a process you followed?
The process we followed was that we left the least amount of creativity on the spot. This is already written story. We had everybody's characters well defined. We did the workshops, we did the training, we did the rehearsals to such a great extent that very little was left to creative or improvisational let us say liberties on the set. And so even for me, I just had to make sure that I was delivering what we had already set and not going below that. And therefore, to direct myself on the set was difficult because I wasn't able to see it cohesively with the other person in front of me and how it looked, because I was looking at it shot by shot. But I was able to piece it together. You know what I mean?
Like you had it in your head.
Yeah, I think I had the whole script and the story in my head. Absolutely.
What was it like spending time with Mr. Nambi? In the sense that, of course, there's so much already out there to read, and like you're saying that a part of the story was already on, like, it had been interpreted in the right or wrong way, but it was interpreted. But what was it like spending time with him, and what was your focus every time you were going to meet him? Like, what was it that you were looking for that would help you play the role that you were you had written?
I had to just imbibe him.
Right.
It's not. I think it was all meant to be. I mean, if I was 3 inches shorter than him, or 2 inches taller, or I had straight, curly hair as opposed to his straight hair, I was actually observing him more than listening to him.
Right.
And
Is there any advice he gave you?
He said, select the right people. Make sure you spend a lot of time in due diligence. But once you select and you made sure that you've given them your vision, leave them alone. And I actually did that for every aspect of the film, from every department to the star cast to the cinematography to the music. I just had to share my vision. I just had to, tap them in where I was heading to, but just giving them complete freedom was one of the things I heard from him. That's how he built the Vikas engine.
The kind of star cast you've chosen, right? Who you trusted would carry that, brief to its T.
Exactly. Yes.
Right.
Yes. I didn't want anybody to come into the baggage on the set where they're trying to play an astro scientist and where you've seen them before play something else, and you had to convince yourself that this guy is acting as a scientist. I mean, the intricacies of what we achieved there was just, I was very proud of it.
And, your experience at the Cannes, can you talk about, what was the conversation like there, and what was the attention that the film received? And, people watching it there, and if you can compare it to how the audiences have, kind of what sort of feedback you've gotten here. So is there kind of a, comparison or a different sort of experience that both the platforms have given you?
The exact same reaction we got there is what we're getting here.
Sure.
That was a very discerning audience, but they seem to have got everything. People here have been saying that, at least the reviewers have been saying, that it'll be difficult for the common man to follow in terms of the rocket science. But in the theaters,
so? Because if someone is interested in the subject, I mean, you don't really have to be interested in the subject per se, right? I mean, if the film has a story to tell, it'll tell it.
I don't like undermining the Indian audiences at all.
Right.
Everybody who says that we understood or we didn't understand, but I don't know how much the common man will understand. But common man is way more intelligent than we credit him with. So yeah, he understands, if not the exact science, at least the impact of what is being talked about.
Subscribe to Midday India. Get direct notifications on all our videos by clicking on the bell icon.